My name is Angela. I am 31 years old. I am married. My husband's name is Joseph. He is 36 years old. 4 years ago, my life changed forever. It was a normal morning. Nothing felt strange. I woke up early. I put on my gym clothes. I kissed Joseph on the cheek. He was standing in the kitchen. He was washing the breakfast dishes. I said, "I will be back soon." Joseph said, "Okay, honey, have a good workout." I smiled at him. Then I left the house. I drove to the gym. I did not know this would be the last normal morning of our life. I was at the gym for only 20 minutes. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Joseph. I answered it. I said, "Hey, what's up?" Joseph said, "Something is wrong, Angela. I feel like there's a golf ball stuck in my throat. You need to come home. You need to take me to the hospital now." My heart stopped. I said, "Call 911. Call an ambulance." Joseph said, No, don't call 911. Just come home. Please come home now." I do not know why he said that. Maybe he was scared. Maybe some part of him already knew. Joseph knew this was serious. He wanted only me. I ran to my car. I repeated one thought again and again. "Please be okay. Please be okay." I made it home in 10 minutes. 10 minutes felt like 10 years. When I turned onto our street, I saw my husband. He was standing outside our front door. He was standing there alone, waiting for me. His face was pale. I ran to him. I said, "Get in the car, Joseph. We are going right now." Joseph nodded. He could barely speak. I drove to the hospital. My hands were shaking. We reached the emergency room. Nurses rushed to us. They put Joseph on a bed. They took him away through big doors. I could not follow him. The doctors ran tests. I sat in the waiting room. Then a doctor came to me. His face was serious. He said, "Miss Angela, your husband's aorta has ruptured." I did not understand. I said, "What does that mean?" The doctor said, "The aorta is the largest blood vessel in the human body. It carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Joseph's aorta has torn open. Blood is leaking from it. Only a small blood clot is stopping it from escaping. That tiny blood clot was keeping my husband alive. If that clot moved even 1 small inch, he would bleed inside his body. Joseph would die within minutes." The doctor said, "We need to operate right now. This is a very dangerous surgery. I must be honest with you. There is a very high chance your husband will not survive." I could not speak. I could not breathe. I just nodded because I had no other choice. Surgery was the only chance, the only hope. They took Joseph into the operating room. I sat in the waiting room the whole time. Friends came, family came, people spoke to me, but their words felt far away. I kept thinking about our life together, our wedding day, our silly arguments, our future, our plans. Would he see any of it? Would we grow old together like we always said we would? I prayed. Finally, after 8 long hours, the surgeon walked out. He said, "Joseph's alive, but the next few hours are critical. He's not out of danger yet." My eyes were full of tears. This surgery, the exact surgery Joseph needed, the surgeon had only done it one time before in his whole career. And somehow, on this day, in this hospital, he was the doctor on duty. He was the one who saved my husband's life. When I tried to thank him, he just looked at me and said, "I give all the glory to God." I stayed at the hospital that whole night. I sat next to Joseph's bed. I watched him breathe. I watched the machines beep. I held his hand. Even though he was still unconscious, I did not want to let go. By morning, the doctors told me Joseph was stable. Stable enough that I could go home for a few hours just to rest, just to shower, just to breathe. I did not want to leave Joseph, but my body was exhausted. My eyes could barely stay open. So finally, I agreed. I drove home alone. The house felt so empty without Joseph. I walked into the kitchen, and that is when I saw it. A piece of paper sitting on the kitchen counter. It was a note in Joseph's handwriting. He must have written it that morning, in those few minutes between calling me and waiting outside our door, when he did not know if he would survive the day, when he did not know if he would ever see me again. He took the time to write me a message. I do not want to repeat his private words to me here. Some things are just too personal to share word for word. But I can tell you this, it was not a note about fear or pain. It was a note about love. Joseph wrote how much he loved me. He wrote about our life together. He wrote words of comfort as if he was trying to protect me, even while he himself was the one in danger. Even in his most frightening moment, his very last thought was not for himself. It was for me. Joseph wanted to make sure that if he did not survive, I would know how deeply he loved me. I cried and cried until I had no tears left. That was in 2022. Today, 4 years later, Joseph is alive. He is healthy. He is strong. We still have our silly little arguments. We still have our Sunday breakfast together. We still wash the dishes together, just like any ordinary day. But we do not take those ordinary days for granted anymore. Not after what we went through. Not after that morning that almost took him away from me forever. That note did not stay on the kitchen counter for long. I put the note inside a small box. Every time I look at it, I remember that day. I remember the fear. I remember the words, "I give all the glory to God." And most of all, I remember this. Even in the scariest moment of his life, my husband's very last thought was love. Love is not only shown in the happy times. True love shows in the hardest moments, in the moments we are most afraid. I am grateful that I still get to love him, that I still get to hold his hand. Some love stories are written in flowers and chocolates. Ours was written on a piece of paper on the worst and somehow also the most beautiful day of our lives. If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.